Welcome back to the Delaware Way. The University of Delaware has a new chair of the Department of Political Science and International Relations. His name is David Redlawsk. He's also involved in the polling at the university, and we'll be talking to him about both. Sir, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get into the polling, which I'm fascinated by, it's even more fascinating to talk about the current climate in politics. Have you ever, in studying this in history, seen anything like this?
No, and I study campaigns, elections, voter decision making. I was as shocked as anybody by the outcome of the election in November, and I'm as shocked as anybody by what's been happening since the election. I don't think we've ever seen an administration come in as apparently disorganized or certainly not ready to run as this one.
Right. We have, as we're taping this interview, on the day we're taping this interview, Michael Flynn has stepped down as National Security Advisor. Do you see more of these to come?
I think it's really hard to tell at this stage of the game. You know, it's hard to know who Trump is going to stick with and who he's going to let go. And I think in the end, it's just not the traditional approach.
Barack Obama was in as president.
Yeah.
The Republicans were very upset about the executive orders,
Yeah.
and now Donald Trump seems to be taking governance by executive order to an entire new level, and there's been silence.
So we call this motivated reasoning in my line of research, and that is that when we like somebody, we tend to accept whatever they do. When we don't like somebody, we tend to hate whatever they do.
And both sides certainly are guilty of that.
Absolutely, no question about it.
But it's a great time to be doing what you're doing, and would love to have you back just to talk about politics in the future. But I want to talk about polling.
Sure.
Because as you look around the country, there are these universities like Monmouth University and Quinnipiac University, Fairleigh Dickinson, Rutgers has the Eagleton poll, and they've all been able to get some type of national stature because of their polling. And so when I heard the University of Delaware was going to start with this polling, I was excited. I thought, oh, here we go. And so far, it hasn't taken off like that.
Well, it's a challenge. Polling is difficult. Polling is incredibly expensive, and to do it well takes a lot of work. I come here actually from having spent 7 years running the Rutgers-Eagleton poll at Rutgers University, and so I'm deeply embedded in that side of things. I think at UD right now, the polling is being done through the Center for Political Communications. We're focusing primarily on Delaware politics because as the state university, that's the biggest part of our mission. Whether we'll look at national things, whether we'll go more national as we move towards, let's say, 2020 presidential election, isn't decided yet, but I think that the key right now is for us to build our polling capacity.
The problem with focusing on Delaware, if I may say so myself, is that it's monochromatic and that color is blue. And so it gets a little dull because you can expect the results. I would imagine in New Jersey it was fascinating with Chris Christie. I don't think you're going to find the same thing here in Delaware.
Well, it is a little bit monochromatic, although at the moment, right, on January 25th, we'll find out how monochromatic it actually is. If the Republicans win the special election for the state Senate, things change, right? So you never really know with politics, and things do shift. They change over time. In 2014, all of the Democratic leaders in the state who were polled had much lower ratings than they typically did, and that had a lot to do with the national environment. So we do learn something by focusing on Delaware.
Is there that temptation, like when you turn on the networks and they're talking about Quinnipiac or they're talking about Monmouth, boy, we could rise to that level?
Well, you always like to be, in the news, as it were, and I did this in Iowa. I also did this at Rutgers. A lot of it depends on luck to some degree. We became very nationally prominent at Rutgers because of Chris Christie, and particularly his run for president, right? And so you never quite know what's going to happen, but any pollster would like to be in the national news.
So maybe?
Maybe. We'll see. The resources are the key. You
have 4 years until Donald Trump runs for re-election, unless something happens to him in the meantime, unless he is forced to resign somehow. But I would think it'd be 4 years to be running for re-election, and that would be a great time to get involved with it.
It would certainly be interesting, no question about it.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate you being in. The new chair of the Department of Political Science and International Relations at the University of Delaware, David Redlawsk. When we come back, a music legend will be here, and he's bringing his guitar. David Bromberg from Wilmington, when the Delaware Way continues.